All right, my fourth and final preview for the fourth game of Wild Card Weekend here is between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. Baltimore Ravens coming into this game as the 5 seed, a 12-4 record. They went 12-4 and lost their division, but that's because Pittsburgh was magnificent when Ben Roethlisberger returned to the lineup after his 4-game suspension, and they won their division. Kansas City, wow, what a year they had. 10-6. They win the AFC West after it had been dominated by San Diego over the last couple of years. So now Kansas City in the playoffs. I think a lot of people were shocked by that. Matt Castle, his first ever playoff game. Wait, John, didn't he make it to the playoffs with the New England Patriots? No, he didn't. He did not make it to the playoffs with the New England Patriots. They went 11-5 that year, did not make it, and so he never got to play in a playoff game. I'm John Herrick. Fourth and final wrap-up and preview of the Wild Card Weekend. First, what do the Baltimore Ravens need to do to win this game over the Kansas City Chiefs? Well, first thing they got to do, got to get some pass rush. At times it's been there this year, and at times it hasn't been quite as good. And it's going to start with Terrell Suggs. Terrell Suggs is going to be the guy that's going to be on the defensive front most of the game. He's going to be going up against left tackle Brandon Albert, who's somewhat of an inexperienced left tackle. So Terrell Suggs is going to have a great game. He's going to have to get to Matt Castle, dial up some pass rush. And it's all going to start with him. If he can start generating some pass rush, usually everybody else starts to get involved and get things going. For Baltimore, I have a bigger concern about Baltimore's offense, if anything else. Their defense is always usually there, but it's their offense that has a tendency to let them down. And it starts with a passing game. We know what we're going to get out of their running game. We know Ray Rice is a phenomenal running back. I mean, he had a Pro Bowl year last year, over 1,000 yards rushing this year. He had a solid year. But their passing game is what has let them down at times this past year. I mean, I'll just go back to the most recent game where they played the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati, not a really good football team. They were 4-12. They struggled on defense, and all Baltimore could muster up against them on offense was 13 points. And, I'm just not, Anquan Boldin's been a nice addition for the Ravens, but I'm not really sure about TJ Houshmandzadeh. He made that huge catch against Pittsburgh earlier in the year when Baltimore beat Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh. Other than that, he's been kind of quiet. You really haven't seen a lot of him this year. He came over from Seattle. He, like Deion Branch, didn't have a very good stint in Seattle, and he came over and he's been somewhat quiet. He's going to have to step up because you know that the Chiefs are going to key in on Anquan Boldin. Todd Heap's not going to be 100%. He's been banged up a good portion of the year. He missed He missed all 3 of the final games for Baltimore in the regular season. So TJ Houshmandzadeh is really going to have to be a factor in the passing game. And, of course, they're going to need to use Ray Rice there as well. Speaking of Ray Rice, Baltimore needs to start with Ray Rice and then air it out. And what I mean by that is Ray Rice is going to be the guy that's going to establish things on the ground. They're going to use him. They're going to use LaRon McClain. They're probably going to use Willis McGahee, but Ray Rice is the guy it has to start with. He's so incredibly fast and difficult to defend. He's got to start it all up front for Baltimore. And then once the Chiefs cheat up and they got to start worrying about the running game, that's when Boldin's got to get gone over the top. That's when Houshmandzadeh's got to make a big play in the secondary. That's when Ed Dixon, who is a pretty athletic tight end, if you throw him in the mix, what does he do in the passing game as well? That's what you got to do if you're Baltimore. Is you got to start with Ray Rice, establish the run, and then get things going, air it out from that point on. If you're going to win that game, that's what you're going to have to do. If you are the Kansas City Chiefs, the first key to victory for Kansas City is you got to defend and protect the castle. I'm going to go back to medieval times here. Defend and protect the castle. Matt Castle, you got to remember, first ever playoff game as a quarterback, and it's the first time he's ever been in a situation like this. He's never been in playoff football. He's going to realize how much it gets taken up a notch. And if you remember correctly, the Baltimore Ravens are a very good football team on the road in the playoffs and in the regular season. Last year, went to New England, slaughtered the Patriots 34-14 before eventually losing to the Colts. Year before that, they beat the Tennessee Titans on the road, and before that, they beat Miami on the road before they almost beat Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game on the road. They almost won 3 playoff games on the road and went to the Super Bowl. So this is a team that knows how to win on the road, and if you're going to prevent them from doing that, you got to keep Matt Castle upright. It's just that simple. Sure, the running game is going to be important. Sure, the #1 rushing offense in the league belongs to Kansas City. But if you are going to win this game, you've got to be able to let Matt Castle air it out, get it to Dwayne Bowe, and get it to the rest of his receivers. Tony Moyaki, by the way, having a great year at tight end for them. The next one, Dexter McCluster, can't be lackluster. He is their dynamic punt and kickoff returner. One thing everybody talks about, well, a young quarterback's best friend is the running game. Yeah, it absolutely is. But having big things happen on special teams doesn't hurt. And Dexter McCluster, he's not Devin Hester, he's not Leon Washington, but he's still a very, very capable return man and one that needs to break one against the Baltimore Ravens if they're going to have a chance to win this game. Matt Castle is going to be under duress. He's going to have a hard time finding a way to slow this game down. It's going to be a big adjustment for him. And one thing that'll give him confidence is if his other players around him can make plays, including on defense. But man, if Dexter McCluster can get something for them on special teams, that would be absolutely huge. And the third and final thing they've got to do if they're going to win this game, Kansas City, you got to take away Anquan Boldin. If you're going to win this game, Anquan Boldin's had a great year for Baltimore. One of the best free agent pickups of the year. Big reason why Baltimore's 12-4. But they've struggled when Anquan Boldin has not played well. Now, when he's played well, their passing game has done a great job. It's taken off. It's gone to new heights. When it hasn't done well, it's because Boldin hasn't played as well as he should. If they're going to get Houshmandzadeh the ball, Boldin's got to play well on the other side. So they've got to find a way to either double team him, take away Boldin, because Todd Heap is banged up. He'll try to play, but he's not. He's been banged up for the last couple of years, really. He's been very injury-plagued, injury-prone. And Houshmandzadeh's been inconsistent, so you need to find a way to get Boldin out of the game if you're Kansas City. Kansas City, one thing that worries me about them is that they gave up 31 points to the Raiders last week, and they let them gash. They let the Raiders gash them on the ground, and the Raiders didn't even really use Darren McFadden. It was Michael Bush that did most of the damage, so that's what's got to worry you a little bit about Kansas City's defense going up against Ray Rice. So that's a big reason why I think it's going to be a problem. I think Baltimore is going to cruise to a victory here. I think Baltimore is going to win this game 28-7. It's going to be very hard for Kansas City to establish anything just because it'll be Matt Castle's first game. I think the Chiefs, in a lot of ways, are just happy to be here. I mean, and I think that, I just don't know how much confidence they're going to be playing with because that big loss to Oakland where they had a chance to lock up the 3 seed and they just got annihilated at home, that's going to put a seed of doubt in their mind. It has to, especially with a young team like that. Good year for Kansas City. Unfortunately, it's not. They're going to go one and done in the playoffs. Ravens win 28-7. Hey, I'll be back next week with AFC divisional playoff previews as well. I'm John Herrick saying so long.